Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV, the live reaction after Newcastle somehow have came away from Selhurst Park with all 3 points. I'm joined by Carl, Brandon, and Liam for the reaction today. How are we doing, lads?
Class, mate. Class.
Absolutely buzzing.
Round the party.
Like lights of Carl behind him. That's how I'm feeling.
Honestly, it makes a change from last week. It was absolutely appalling. So, Liam, it was obviously massive 3 points for us today. Was that daylight robbery, or do you think we deserved all of it?
I do feel like the better team. Like, I didn't think it was going to be a 2-0 game watching it, but yeah, it's a massive improvement than last week. I don't think we probably could have got worse, but you know what I mean, you don't want to get any worse. So
you don't want to tempt it, are you?
Whatever he's done today, or the formation he's played, clearly works. Obviously, I don't know what he doesn't understand with playing Joelinton up top by himself doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
He needs support around him, which obviously he had with Callum Wilson, and it showed in the 2 goals because both of them assisted for each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you mentioned the change of formation, Carl. If we come to you for our lineup going into today's game, obviously we've changed from a back 5 or a back 3 into what looked like a back 4 at the start of the game and was pretty solid throughout. So what were your thoughts when that team was announced?
Yeah, I was really happy with it, to be honest. Myself and Adam spoke about it previously, that we thought kind of like maybe revert back to a 4-4-2, see how that works. Wasn't so happy with Jeff Hendrick being out on the right, but he seems to be Steve Bruce's first name on the team sheet at the moment for some reason. But overall, I was pretty happy. I was glad to see Shelby back. Yeah, I was happy for Joelinton to start up top with Wilson as well. So overall, I was happy with it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brandon, the Palace lineup was obviously a little bit weaker without their star man, Wilf Zaha, but they still went for a tricky front 3 with Schlupp, Etse, and Ayew up top instead of their big men. What did you make of their team going into the game?
To be fair, I don't know if this was their strongest lineup. I would probably like to see Benteke or Batshuayi in instead of what they played now with Schlupp, Ayew, and Eze. Eze is a great quality player, but I would probably start Batshuayi for sure. So yeah. I don't know what Hudson was thinking, but I'm glad he didn't.
Glad it didn't work out for them in the end. We seemed to contain them quite well in the first half. We had a fantastic first 4. Well, I say fantastic by Newcastle standards. We created more, had a few shots on target. I think we managed 6 shots and 3 on target in the first half. Most of those coming from Joelinton, but someone that stood out through the entire 90, not just the first 45, was Jamal Lewis. Looked a bit more comfortable in the left full-back position rather than the wing-back position. So what did you make of his performance today, Liam? You've obviously been a big critic of his in the past.
All round was a lot better than I've pretty much seen all season. He wasn't scared to pass the ball. I think in previous games in the first half, he would always pass backwards. But I think he's looking a lot more forward now. He's looking to pass that ball forward, take the riskier pass, which obviously is going to be a better thing in the grand terms of things. But I did think when we first started, must be the best team at passing backwards. I
think, yeah, we're probably top of some table somewhere for possession statistics going backwards. But Carl, you've watched a couple of the games live, and the last few performances from Jamal Lewis haven't been the best. But do you think he was a big improvement from him today? Do you think he can kick on going forward?
Definitely. I've always been quite sceptical of him defensively, but he looked a bit more sound today. The only thing I thought the first half, some of his crossing was a bit poor, personally. But that aside, he's definitely looked a lot better than he has done previously. And I want him to kick on. I want him to do well. Not just because of the money we spent on him, but he's a young lad. We need to shore up at that full-back position. And, I think he can do a job there. So, yeah, happy, mate. Happy overall.
Yeah, we've seen rumours circulating yet again, obviously with the January transfer window coming up. Jetro Willems may be tempted with a move back. So Jamal Lewis looks like he's going to have a fight on his hands if that move goes through. But another person that returned the starting lineup today, there was a couple of them, was John Joe Shelby, who was actually captain, believe it or not. Sometimes it's a wise decision, sometimes it's not. But what did you make of his performance today, Brandon? Were you impressed or were you underwhelmed?
I'm more than impressed. I love seeing John Joe play. He's just bringing that refreshment, sort of that forward thinking. When he gets the ball, he's thinking about forward playing and not going back. attacking wise, he's bringing that creativity. So I'm more than happy to see him play again. And for me, he is the number one captain. But maybe that's because I'm biased because I like a lot. And yeah, he's my captain number one.
Yeah, I mean, he does bring a bit of more dynamism going forward, doesn't he, Liam? He offers those forward balls. Do you think he should be starting in that midfield every game? Or do you think certain games where we come up against a tougher opposition, he should be dropped?
Certain games, but the thing is, though, when he played against Man City last season, obviously he scored that goal, which probably no one else in the team would have scored. So it's quite hard. Like, you'd probably have to maybe play him in a free if he's going to play against the bigger teams, because there's going to be a lot of running around against the big teams. Like, you probably start Hayden and then Sean with him if you're going to play him against the big teams. But he provides that cutting edge, like he can ping that ball that no one else has seen. So it's a lot stronger attacking team when he's there.
We've got a few of the weaker sides coming up, Carl. Who would you like to see starting in that midfield for you? Obviously, there's Hendrick starting out on the right-hand side today. He's an option in the middle. Both the Longstaff brothers, Shelby, Hayden, when he's fit and kicking. Who would be your starting 2 or 3? What formation would you go with?
I don't want to see Hendrick anywhere near the squad, to be honest, personally. Just like when he first came in, I was happy with how he performed. He looked like he was his work rate was there, but as Brandon said, it's not enough sometimes. Like, footballing wise, he's just not been there. He's not been at the races. So I think Shelby and Hayden complement each other. They're both at their best when they're playing together. So I definitely want to see those two in the middle. That being said, I wouldn't mind seeing Sean Longstaff maybe push in front of them two, play 3, maybe like a 4-3-3. Something like that, or a 4-3-2-1, with Wilson, Longstaff, maybe even Joelinton in behind. Because I'm not sure what's going on with Maximin and Steve Bruce, but I'm sure we'll come on to that. But yeah, ideally it'll be Hayden and Shelby. I think that we've always been successful with those two in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Hendrick a little bit earlier. He's not really impressed that much. We thought a bit of experience would shore up that midfield, but it hasn't really gone well for him. Obviously, he had that one game against West Ham where he stood out. But one person that has been consistently good for us this season, arguably kept us in the game at points, was Carl Darlow today, Brandon. How important was he at the back behind that defence?
Important enough to keep us clear clearance. Oh, fuck. I get this fucking off my life. Jesus. What the fuck's she doing? Oh, Jesus. Wait, give me a second.
No worries, man.
What the fuck's she doing, man? Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry, I got a...
No, it's all right. So, Carl Darlow's performance today, obviously, he made a couple of important saves, tested from long range.
Yeah, like I said in the live stream, Carl Darlow's doing great. Although I don't think you can drop him for Dubravka. That's no discussion for me. What does Dubravka deserve to not be the first goalkeeper again after he's fully fit? So, yeah.
Well, Liam, what do you think? Obviously, in the 29th minute, there was a big deflection from a Callum Wilson pass that got flicked over the top for Jeffrey Schlupp, and he obviously had a really good line on goal, and Dubravka got a massive hand that kept us in the game at that point and obviously enabled us to keep that clean sheet. I believe that's his first clean sheet since the opening day. I might be wrong there. But, it was a good save. Do you think he deserves to keep his place in the team, or do you think Dubravka walks straight back into the starting lineup?
It's a hard one because you can argue both ways. You can argue Dubravka's been solid for the last 2.5 seasons, I think it is now. He's been with her, but then Darlow's stepped up massively. But then I'm a bit sick of seeing Darlow putting off all these saves. Do you know what I mean? He shouldn't have to be playing world class every game. Do you know what I mean? It's how we're not learned to defend.
No, I think we're still top of the league when it comes to amount of shots faced this season, even though we didn't concede too many today. But I think that was down to the opposition's weakness rather than our defensive solidity. But yeah,
mate, can I join in real quick with a question for all of you lots? Don't you feel more confident when Dubravka goes into going for an L duel or like when he goes into air for then instead of like Darlow? Like, like when the cross comes in or like from a free kick, don't you feel like more secure with like Martin instead of Carl?
Yeah,
I do.
when he was in the Championship, Darlow, he was a good Championship goalkeeper, but he would always like sort of fumble the ball. Do you not remember that save that when he slid out the box with the ball and he had to drop it, and then like Yedlin had to run back and then he jumped over Yedlin to save it? Like that sort of thing probably always sticking in the back of fans' minds is that he's always got that chance where he will fumble the ball. But I don't really think Dubravka would ever fumble it, from what I'm aware. Obviously, I know he's letting it flankers.
But like what I've seen, like the last couple of games, like okay, he cleared the balls, Darlow, but he like what I would expect from Dubravka is like when a corner kick comes in or like a free kick, he gets those balls instead of like stomping them away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I think it just depends.
It kind of makes me a little bit nervous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just depends on the keeper, because obviously Rafa doesn't like the keeper to catch the ball, does he? Just likes the keeper to come out and punch it. Because I think it was when we played Wolves 2 seasons ago where he dropped the ball and then Bolly scored it.
Yeah, it was right up against the keeper.
Yeah, and then I think Rafa. Like I think someone said that they brought Pepe Reina into Liverpool because he punched the ball out. He didn't attempt to catch it. So I think it just depends on who your manager is to what keeper they prefer.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Brandon.
Would anyone reckon Darlow over Dubravka though? That's like, I'm interested.
It's difficult because if you're the manager, you don't want to break that player's confidence by dropping him. So
if you're Steve Bruce, like right now on the spot, like would you play Martin over Carl? And anyone
personally, I would keep Darlow in the team just because he's on a good run of form.
Really?
If you drop him now, he's going to take a massive confidence hit, and Dubravka would need bringing back up to fitness because he's not fully fit, and when he does get fit, he's going to need a few games. So maybe if we're in the cup, Dubravka could play in the cup game, get his fitness back, and then when Darlow has maybe an iffy week, he can drop him out of the team. Then obviously it will come a time when Dubravka reclaims that number one spot.
So you accept Dubravka leaving the club? That's probably what you're saying. I think if you drop Dubravka, he's out.
But
he's got loads of clubs he can go to.
I don't think it's a case of dropping Dubravka. I think it's a case of biding his time until he reclaims that number one shirt, because we know that Darlow's on a good run of form, but we know that he's indefinitely a worse keeper than Dubravka. Dubravka is one of the best keepers in the league, bar none.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't think it's a case of dropping Dubravka. I think it's a case of bleeding him back into the team gradually. But we'll see when he comes back to fitness. I think he's still a little bit of a way off coming back.
Speaking about goalkeepers, like Bruce is going to have a bit of nightmare next season because you've got Woodman coming back from Swansea. You've got Darlow that's had like probably going to play 15 or 20 games a season in the league, and then you've got probably the number ones not even getting games times. So it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to loan Woodman out again? Or are you going to loan Darlow out again? Or are you going to sell Dubravka and then maybe have Woodman and Darlow fighting for number one? It's going to be interesting, right?
Mate, I'm going to tell you, if we don't play Dubravka when he's fit and he feels like fit, he's out whenever he can. Believe me. Yeah. Because he got most of teams to pick out, and it's probably better rated teams than Newcastle. No offense.
Yeah. Well, bringing the focus back to today's game, Carl. Obviously, we're talking about Carl Darlow, but there was a new look back four in front of him with Clark and Fernandez starting a game together, both solid defensive centre-backs, and Manquillo coming in at that right full-back position as well. What did you make of that back four today?
I was happy with them. I've always been a big fan of Kieran Clark. He's not the best footballing centre-half, but he's a no-nonsense centre-half, and I think he shored up Fernandez, who's had a few dodgy games over the last few weeks as well. So, big decisions to drop Jamal Lascelles. He's not injured, is he? Am I right in thinking that? Is he just dropped Lascelles? Or?
I think he might have a slight injury in training this week. It shouldn't keep him out for longer than 1 week, I don't think, but we'll see come next week,
But either way, I think it's...
last week, right? Last week in the game, he got like a huddle as well.
Yeah. I think it's positive either way. Like, I think it was coming to a point where Bruce would have had to make a decision whether he should drop the Sells for a couple of weeks to try and give him a bit of a kick up the arse. Because we've always had good depth at centre half, I feel, over the last few years. And I said in the last video with Liam, they all suddenly turned to shit out of nowhere. But we look better tonight, a lot better. And I genuinely think Kieran Clark's got a lot to do with that, to be fair.
Yeah, he's absolutely massive at the back. I think he's one of our best defenders, especially when it comes to like actually defending as well.
Yeah,
and that left foot in the back line gives you something to play out from as well. But we've already talked about Jamal Lewis today, Liam. But how good was Manquillo? He offered a bit of defensive protection against some of those players, these attacking electric players from Palace. But he also offered a bit going forwards as well. In the 66th minute, he obviously had that chance where he whipped a ball in for Wilson, who just flicked it over the bar. But what did you make of his performance today?
If I'm being totally honest, I cannot remember him much in the game. I just don't know whether I wasn't just paying attention when he had the ball, so it might be better ask one of the other lads. Sorry.
No, it's a fair point, to be honest. Well, we'll come to you, Brandon. Do you think he was invisible today, or did you think he had a good game?
Well, if he's invisible as a defender, he's probably good enough, and he played a good game, right? So, he probably then didn't make massive mistakes, and probably technically-wise, he didn't do great or bad. It's he probably put on a decent performance. Probably, I would rate him 1 out of 10, probably 6. So, he did the job. So
he did. Considering Palace's attack on that left side, he got Van Aanholt, who we know is a fantastic attacking fullback, and he managed to keep him under wraps for most of the game. But we'll move on now to Newcastle and our fantastic attacking display in the second half, which was so amazing. We created so many chances. But of course, in all seriousness, the action happened in the last 5 minutes of the game. Callum Wilson yet again popping up with the goods, Carl. What do you make of his performance overall, but also the goal today?
Yeah, he just offers what we've been missing, doesn't he? We said it all along. He's a proper striker, and even when he's not on the ball, he's making the right runs to pull the defenders away to allow the likes of, maybe not so much. Well, Miggy, to be fair, he did have a couple of runs. He was able to, try and find him. But Joelinton, his link-up play with Joelinton tonight was, especially the second half, because Joelinton's a couple of his touches in the first half weren't so great when in the final third, but improved on that in the second half, and he'd already had a good first half. So, yeah, he's what we've been missing, and if we didn't have him, we wouldn't be scoring any goals. I don't think, to be honest. So that assist from Joelinton, by the way, was naughty, absolutely naughty.
Yeah,
right.
Brazil call coming in.
I thought the Crystal Palace fan who came on the watch along, Wales was trying to slate you guys, and he did. So fair enough to him.
Liam, Carl's mentioned the link-up play between Wilson and Joelinton. Do you think that's down to those players finally striking a partnership, or is that down to the formation Bruce was playing today, playing the two up top together?
Well, it probably does help if you've got a player within 5 to 10 meters. Do you I think they probably have started to get a good partnership, because I think they're both starting to understand where each other are going to run and where each other is going to be. I think it's going to give Joelinton the world of confidence, because he's not the sole attacker in the team. If you look like last week, it was Joelinton versus Chelsea's back four.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's a good player, but he's not going to destroy Chelsea's back four week in, week out. Do you know what I mean? So it's good that he's got someone there that can score goals and that takes the pressure off him. And I think it's better because I think he's already got 3 goals this season. I think
3 goals in a Newcastle shirt, not this season, just in a Newcastle shirt. Yeah,
I'm sure he has got 3 goals this season. But if he has got 3 goals, then it's going to be better for everyone. Because what we don't want to do is solely rely on Callum Wilson scoring all the goals. Because what happens if Wilson gets injured? Then we're going to be in the same scenario where we've got Joelinton up top, which doesn't make any fucking sense. Do you know what I mean? But Bruce seems to love it, so.
Yeah. Brandon, Joelinton obviously not playing up by himself, not isolated like he was against Chelsea. What did you make of his overall performance today? Most of our chances in the first half came through him, and obviously bagging a goal and assist right at the death. Do you think he had a good game? Was that his best game in a Newcastle shirt?
Yeah. Probably one of his best games. besides one of his Carabao Cup games. But like, yeah, it was good. Like we said in like the watch along, it was like Joelinton had some Red Bulls or was on steroids. Yeah, he played good, lively. So yeah, they said like if Joelinton plays this every week, we probably put him in the starting 11 every week. So,
but I might be
performance, I would
overdoing
say.
it, but genuinely, I thought he was class today. I thought he was class. There was a couple of bits that he still needs to work on, but I thought he was class.
I'm absolutely.
His finishing is still shite, but he was energetic, right?
No, I'm absolutely on your side there, Carl. I thought he was the best player on the pitch by miles, even before he scored or assisted. Like we know that he's not a number 9. We know his finishing isn't up to scratch, but his hold-up play today was fantastic. When he was holding the ball up well, and his awareness of players around him. He was picking out passes that even I didn't see watching the game with like a wide-angle camera. He was really, really good for us going forward today. Do you think he's earned a place in the starting 11 for the next game then, Carl? Do you think he's that good?
Yeah, I do. I think I've always been one. It's hard to not get caught up in bashing him, to be honest. But I have always said from the start that somewhere there is a footballer in him, and it hasn't helped in the positions he's been played. And he's had that hefty £40 million price tag. What happened with that, we don't know. But there has been games where he's been cutting him from that left-hand side, and he started again doing it today. And he's good on the ball, and he'll beat a man. His shooting does leave something to be desired, but I think it will come with confidence. And like you said, his passing is actually really, really underrated. Really underrated. Yeah, so I definitely deserves a starting lineup next week. Definitely.
Before the game this week, there was calls. Well, since Chelsea last week, there was calls for Bruce out. Everyone's calling for his head. Liam, what did you think of his performance today? Obviously, on the sidelines, do you think he got it right with the lineup? Do you think he got it right with his subs? Or do you think it was down to pure luck that we came away with the 3 points today?
I really, really want to say luck. But we've done what we needed to do. I just wish we got the goal earlier on, so we're not like just hanging on for like the last 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, we're gonna have to score here. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I wish we should have took with chances in the first half to kill the game off. But I'm not. If we play like that every week, we'll win most games. But for me, it's not about we're losing. It's about the way we lose. Like last week was totally embarrassing. Like I think I had posted with 3 or 4 statuses on Facebook on the page about it, like saying how embarrassing it was. But yeah, give him where credit's due. He's got his team selection right. I would have maybe not started Jeff Hendrick, but I think it might be in his contract that he's got to start every second game. But that was the only thing I didn't. That's the only thing I could really pick fault with him. Was Jeff Hendrick starting, but I don't want to bash Jeff Hendrick too much because he didn't do a lot right, but then he didn't do anything drastically wrong. So
the only thing I didn't agree with, I think, sorry to butt in, is just I thought that substitution did you bring Richie on for Almiron?
Yeah.
I'd have rather him took Hendrick off just because I just don't think Hendrick was in the game because he's not a winger at the end of the day, and Miggy's more of the winger out of the two. But yeah,
I thought Miggy was having a decent game, to be fair.
Yeah, I was surprised by it, mate. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to annoy everyone now by doing what all the pundits on all these main channels do by saying Steve Bruce has had an excellent start to the season. But at the minute, after today's game, we've played 10 games, we've got 14 points, and we're sitting in 10th position. We're above Man United, Arsenal, and City. Yes, a couple of them have got games in hand. Can we really complain at the start of the season? I know. I hate this question because we've watched some of the games against Southampton, against Brighton, and against Chelsea, and they were all shocking. But can we complain?
No.
Because
I will. I'll complain.
Go on, they complain.
Yeah. I'm not going to complain with where we are in the league, but let's not sugarcoat it. We've got a fucking result that we pulled out of our arse against Spurs that we didn't deserve. We've smashed a West Ham team who was shite on the day. Like, it's not about them that we beat a good team. They were really, really, really fucking bad. Really bad. And then we were shit against Southampton.
Wolves.
Yeah. We were shit against Southampton. We were absolutely piss poor against Chelsea. Yes, we played well tonight, and I won't fault anything he's done. But like Liam said, we've only scored within the last 4 minutes. I'm not going to complain about that. But every other game, every game other than West Ham and Everton, for me, we've been fucking shit. Like, no bones about it. We got some really lucky results. So I'm not complaining about the position, but let's not sugarcoat it. Like, it's not been down to how we've played. Definitely not. We've got very lucky at the start of the season. Very lucky.
That's a shit thing, you know. You can't really blame Bruce. It's fucking boring football to watch. Okay, we picked up points, but it's fucking shite, man. And like,
I'm not going to be negative about tonight and start shouting
as a
Bruce
Newcastle
out.
supporter, you don't know how to feel, you know, because like now probably a lot of people start to feel buzzing, and a lot of people say like, "Where's the Bruce haters now?" Blah blah blah. Jeez, man, it's like going all the way. Like, we have to go with the rest of all the Toon army, so to say, like one way, and like with this manager, we cannot really go that way. The way he plays. So like it's hard to have like a feeling how you feel about the team. You know, it's hard. Like this week you feel like good, and the other week you feel like fucking shit, and you want Bruce out, and the other week you feel like okay, maybe he can sort the job. It's like fucking weird, man.
If you can continue and build off performances like this and build on it, rather than trying to revert back to boring tactics. And then just going back to where we were, then we can start to be positive and hope to build something. But I don't have that trust in him at the moment, personally.
But I have to say, I prefer us playing this way instead of and losing points instead of like what he played last couple of 3 games. To be fair.
Yeah, I think like you're absolutely right, Carl. Like reverting back to boring football. If Andy, I genuinely think this. If Andy Carroll was fit today, this game finishes 0-0 because he brings him on for Joelinton or for Callum Wilson at the 80th minute, and he tries to play long ball football, and it doesn't work.
Mate, you're absolutely spot on. Like, he couldn't switch it because he didn't have a striker to put on. You're absolutely bang on. Like, he was literally taken out of his hands. To be fair, and Joelinton's played class, so yeah.
Right, well. We've come away with all 3 points, believe it or not, even though it wasn't the most positive game for us. But looking forwards, lads, we've got 4 should be winnable games. We've got Villa away, West Brom home, Leeds away, and Fulham at home, all before Christmas Day. How many points do you think we're going to take away from that?
7.
We'll go around all 3 of you. Go on then, Brandon. 7. Where do you think we're getting the points from?
I would say Fulham 3 points. Leeds 3. West Brom we can take 3. We should have take 3, and maybe Leeds 1 point. So that brings me up to 7.
Yeah, Liam.
I'm gonna say 7 points. We should be beating Fulham and West Brom, but I think we're going to draw one of the games. Who was it? Villa and Leeds.
Yeah, both away.
Both away. I think we'll get smashed off Leeds. I think we'll draw against Villa.
Go on then, Carl.
I nearly said 3, but because it's Fulham and West Brom, I will go 6. Because I do agree. Usually I'd expect a draw out of Villa or to beat them, but they're not showing any teams any respect this year, so I actually don't expect to get a result from them, which is really infuriating. And Leeds again, I'm like Liam. I think we'll probably get smashed by them.
Yeah, I'm going to be Mr. Negative then if you've gone on fairly optimistic. I'm going to go 4, but I think the 3 points will come against Villa. I think we'll try and shock the team above us in the league. Like we usually pull off a shock result or 2, but I think we'll struggle against those weaker sides that aren't as expansive and don't play attacking football.
Do you not reckon it's crazy that you're saying you want to get a shock result against Villa?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah,
is that how
it's true.
Is that how low we've come now? Is we've got to get a shock result against Villa? That's just embarrassing.
You've absolutely summed it up there. Yeah.
But then, I'm just sick of the pundits saying it's a work in progress. Every team's a work in progress. Do you know what I mean? It's just like we've probably got the best attackers since we had Papi Cisse, Demba Ba, and Hatem Ben Arfa. But then he doesn't seem to know how to play them properly.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the midfield, and
I think our midfield now is probably just as good as Kabay and Coyote.
Really?
I would say.
In terms of raw talent, I'd maybe agree with you, but in terms of consistency, maybe not. We've got Shelby, who brings like the Kabai ability, and then you've got maybe Hayden, who has the defensive capabilities of Tiote, but neither are consistent enough to maybe prove that they're
if you make a comparison, right, you would take Tiote easily over Hendrik, right?
Oh yeah,
I would take myself over Hendrik half the time. You know what I mean?
But that's what I mean. Like that's what you're up with. So
yeah.
Or would you choose Reda Kabai over Junjo?
I mean,
yeah, because he left to go to PSG in a flop. So, but he did miss a pen against work when we went down though. So we've got to
don't go down this road, man. Like seriously, if you could have choose in your football manager game, whatever, would you rather choose Junjo or Kabai in his prime?
Oh, in his prime, it's got to be Kabai.
Yeah. But like when was Junjo's prime?
Anyway, that's a conversation.
He doesn't have a prime. He just has a game every 6-7 games.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a conversation for another time. Maybe you can make a video on that, Brandon, discussing our all-time 11. But now it's 3 points away at Palace. We can't sniff at that at all. Thanks for joining me on NFTV Reaction tonight, lads. If you haven't already, check out the player ratings and the last word on the Palace game tonight. Just drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. Comment if you've got anything to say about today's game. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and NFTV Extra as well. But look after yourselves, lads, and I'll see you in the next video.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.